Abbas Mazaheri. Critical points in his life. Early life and background. Abbas Mazaheri was born in Tehran, Iran in 1944. Throughout his life, he became prominent for political activism, particularly within political Islam and the Anti-Bahai movement. His political journey began in the tumultuous years leading up to the Iranian Revolution, marked by widespread dissent against the Shah's regime. Mazaheri's early years were shaped by Iran's socio-political landscape, which was rife with discontent against the ruling Pahlavi dynasty. The Shah's regime was seen by many as oppressive and heavily influenced by Western powers, particularly the United States. This environment of political unrest provided fertile ground for various opposition movements, including those rooted in Islamic ideology. Mazaheri aligned himself with political Islam, a movement that sought to infuse governance with Islamic principles and laws. This alignment placed him in opposition to the Shah's secular policies. Political Islam in Iran was also characterized by its strong anti-Bahai sentiment, as the Bahai faith was viewed with suspicion and hostility by many Islamist factions. Mazaheri's activism included participation in campaigns against the Bahai community, which faced significant persecution in Iran. In addition to his ideological pursuits, Mazaheri took a more direct approach in his opposition to the Shah by engaging in armed struggle. This period saw the rise of various militant groups that sought to overthrow the Shah through violent means. Mazaheri's involvement in these activities underscored his commitment to the cause, as he believed armed resistance was necessary to the revolution. The culmination of these efforts was the Iranian Revolution of 1979, which resulted in the overthrow of the Shah and the establishment of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The revolution was a turning point in Iranian history, significantly changing the country's political, social, and religious landscape. After the revolution, Mazaheri became an influential figure within the new Islamic Republic. His contributions to the revolution and his ongoing commitment to the principles of political Islam ensured that he remained a relevant and respected figure in the post-revolutionary period. Despite the revolution's success, the new regime faced numerous challenges, including internal dissent and external pressures. Mazaheri, along with other revolutionaries, worked to consolidate the revolution's gains and implement the vision of an Islamic state. Abbas Mazaheri's life and activism reflect the complexities of Iran's political evolution in the 20th century. His involvement in the political and academic activities. Mazaheri's involvement in the Anti-Bahai Organization from 1960 to 1961 marked a significant period in his life, characterized by active participation in efforts to suppress the Bahai community in Iran. The Anti-Bahai Organization was part of a broader socio-political movement that sought to marginalize and persecute the Bahai faith, which has been viewed with suspicion and hostility by specific segments of Iranian society, particularly by conservative religious factions. During this period, Mazaheri was engaged in various activities orchestrated by the organization. These activities often included propaganda campaigns to discredit the Bahai faith and its followers. The organization disseminated literature and organized public meetings to spread negative stereotypes and misinformation about the Bahai community. Such efforts were intended to incite public sentiment against the Baha'is, portraying them as a threat to the social and religious fabric of Iran. Additionally, Mazaheri and his associates in the Anti-Bahai Organization were involved in lobbying efforts to influence government policies against the Baha'is. They sought to persuade authorities to implement discriminatory laws and regulations that would restrict Baha'i individuals' civil rights and freedoms. This included advocating for the exclusion of Baha'is from certain professions, educational institutions, and public offices. The Anti-Bahai Organization also played a role in coordinating direct actions against Baha'i properties and places of worship. These actions included vandalism, arson, and other forms of violence intended to intimidate the Baha'i community and disrupt their religious practices. Mazaheri's participation in such activities highlighted the extent to which the organization was willing to go to achieve its objectives. It is important to note that the Baha'i community in Iran has faced systemic persecution for many decades, and the actions of the Anti-Bahai Organization during the early 1960s were part of a broader pattern of discrimination and violence. Despite these challenges, the Baha'is have continued to practice their faith and advocate for peace and unity. Mazaheri's involvement in the Anti-Bahai Organization reflects Iran's complex interplay of religious, social, and political forces during that era. It serves as a reminder of the enduring struggles faced by minority communities in the face of intolerance and persecution. Expelled from law faculty of Tehran University, 1963, his political activities led to his expulsion from the university, marking the beginning of his deep involvement in political struggles. At the time, Iran was under the rule of Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, and the political climate was highly repressive. The Shah's regime was known for its authoritarian measures, including censorship, imprisonment, and even execution of political dissidents. The young law student had become increasingly vocal against the Shah's regime, participating in student protests and joining underground political groups that opposed the monarchy. His expulsion from Tehran University was not an isolated incident, but part of a broader crackdown on political activism within academic institutions. Universities in Iran had become hotbeds of political dissent, with students and professors often at the forefront of the struggle for democratic reforms and human rights. After his expulsion, he did not retreat from his political activities. Instead, he deepened his involvement, connecting with various opposition groups, including leftist organizations and Islamist factions that were critical of the Shah's policies. His expulsion was a catalyst, propelling him into a life dedicated to political activism. He became an influential figure in the opposition movement, contributing to underground publications, organizing protests, and working to galvanize public sentiment against the regime. During this period, he also faced significant personal risks. The Shah's secret police, SAVAK, was notorious for its brutal tactics, including surveillance, torture, and extrajudicial killings. Many of his contemporaries were arrested, tortured, or forced into exile. Despite the dangers, he remained steadfast in his commitment to political change, believing that only a concerted effort by the Iranian people could end the Shah's authoritarian rule. His early expulsion from the university thus marked the beginning of a long and arduous journey in Iran's struggle for political freedom. It was a formative experience that shaped his future actions and ideologies, making him a key player in the events that would eventually lead to the Iranian Revolution of 1979. Armed struggle and political imprisonment. Mazaheri joined the International Muslim People's Party (IMPP) in 1965, a pivotal year that marked the burgeoning resistance against Iran's Shah regime. The IMPP was the first Iranian Islamic party to initiate an armed struggle against authoritarian rule, setting the stage for future revolutionary movements. The party was founded on the principles of Islamic ideology, social justice, and resistance to imperialism, and it sought to mobilize the masses through political advocacy and militant action. Mazaheri's role as a member of the Control Committee was a testament to his deep commitment and significant involvement in the party's activities. The Control Committee was responsible for overseeing the implementation of the party's policies, ensuring adherence to its ideological tenets, and coordinating various operations, including covert activities and armed resistance. This position required trust, strategic thinking, and dedication, indicating Mazaheri's prominence within the organization. During his tenure, Mazaheri contributed to the planning and execution of several key operations aimed at undermining the Shah's regime. These activities included organizing protests, distributing anti-regime literature, and coordinating with other revolutionary groups in Iran and internationally. The IMPP's efforts were instrumental in raising awareness about the oppressive nature of the Shah's rule and galvanizing public support for the revolutionary cause. Mazaheri's involvement with the IMPP also placed him at significant personal risk. Members of the party were often targets of the Shah's secret police, SAVAK, which was notorious for its brutal tactics in suppressing dissent. Despite the dangers, Mazaheri remained steadfast in his commitment to the party's goals, demonstrating remarkable courage and resilience. The IMPP's struggle against Shah's regime was part of a more significant wave of revolutionary fervor that eventually culminated in the Iranian Revolution of 1979. While the IMPP itself did not survive as a major political force, its early efforts and the sacrifices of its members, including Mazaheri, played a crucial role in laying the groundwork for the Shah's eventual overthrow. Mazaheri's legacy within the IMPP is remembered as one of dedication to the cause of justice and freedom. This reflects the broader aspirations of many Iranians who sought to reclaim their country from autocratic rule and foreign influence. His contributions to the party and the revolutionary movement exemplify the spirit of resistance that characterized this tumultuous period in Iran's history. Political prisoner, 1965 to 1979. Due to his activities with the Iranian Marxist People's Party, IMPP, Mazaheri was imprisoned for 14 years. His long-term imprisonment highlighted the severe repression faced by political dissidents in Iran. Mazaheri's involvement with the IMPP, a clandestine organization advocating Marxist ideologies and opposing the Shah's autocratic rule, made him a target for the SAVAK, the Shah's notorious secret police. In 1965, Mazaheri was arrested during a sweeping crackdown on political activists and intellectuals who were seen as threats to the regime. The arrest was part of a broader effort by the Shah to stifle any form of dissent and maintain his grip on power. During his incarceration, Mazaheri was subjected to harsh conditions and severe treatment, which were typical for political prisoners at the time. Reports from fellow inmates and human rights organizations indicated that prisoners like Mazaheri faced physical and psychological torture, overcrowded cells, inadequate medical care, and limited access to legal representation. The aim was to punish and break the spirit of those who dared to challenge the status quo. Despite these hardships, Mazaheri remained resilient. He used his time in prison to educate himself, reading extensively on political theory, history, and philosophy. He also became a mentor to younger prisoners, sharing his knowledge and encouraging them to continue the struggle for justice and equality. His unwavering commitment to his beliefs and ability to inspire others earned him great respect among his peers. Mazaheri's release in 1979 came amidst the backdrop of the Iranian Revolution, which saw the overthrow of the Shah and the establishment of the Islamic Republic. His release was part of a broader amnesty for political prisoners, as the new regime sought to distance itself from the oppressive practices of the previous government. However, the revolution brought its own set of challenges and complexities, and many former political prisoners, including Mazaheri, found themselves navigating a new political landscape that was fraught with its forms of repression and ideological battles. Mazaheri's 14-year imprisonment remains a poignant reminder of the lengths to which authoritarian regimes will go to silence dissent, and the enduring spirit of those who fight for freedom and justice. His story is a testament to the resilience of political prisoners who, despite facing immense suffering, continue to advocate for a better and more just society. Post-revolution activities and exile. Member of the Marxist-Leninist Organization, Path of the Revolutionary Workers of Iran, 1979–1981, following the Iranian Revolution of 1979, which saw the overthrow of the Pahlavi monarchy and the establishment of the Islamic Republic, Mazaheri became deeply involved in the political upheaval that swept the nation. The revolution created a fertile ground for various political ideologies to flourish, including Marxism-Leninism, which found a significant following among intellectuals, students, and workers disillusioned with the monarchy and the emerging Islamic regime. Mazaheri joined the Marxist-Leninist Organization, Path of the Revolutionary Workers of Iran, Ra-e-Kargar, a group committed to Marxist-Leninism principles and aiming to establish a socialist state in Iran. The organization was part of a broader spectrum of leftist groups that sought to influence the direction of the revolution towards a more egalitarian and socialist society. Ra-e-Kargar advocated workers' rights, land reforms, and opposition to imperialism, aligning itself with the global socialist movement. During his time with Ra-e-Kargar, Mazaheri participated in various political activities, including organizing protests, distributing pamphlets, and engaging in ideological debates. The organization was involved in grassroots efforts to mobilize workers and peasants, advocating for the redistribution of wealth and establishing a planned economy. Mazaheri's role likely included theoretical work, such as writing articles and manifestos, and practical activism, such as participating in strikes and demonstrations. The period from 1979 to 1981 was marked by intense political conflict in Iran, as different factions vied for power in the post-revolutionary state. The new Islamic Republic, led by Ayatollah Khomeini, began to consolidate power and suppress opposition groups, including leftist organizations like Ra-e-Kargar. The regime's crackdown on dissent led to arrests, executions, and the exile of many political activists. By 1981, the political climate had become increasingly hostile to leftist groups. The Islamic Republic's security forces targeted Marxist-Leninist organizations, accusing them of being counter-revolutionary and in league with foreign powers. Many members of Ra-e-Kargar were arrested, and the organization was forced to operate clandestinely or dissolve. It is likely that Mazaheri's involvement with Ra-e-Kargar ended around this time due to the heightened repression and Political exile in Germany since 1983. Due to continued political repression and his activities with revolutionary groups, Mazaheri sought exile in Germany, where he has lived since 1983. His decision to seek asylum was driven by escalating threats to his safety and freedom in his home country. In Germany, Mazaheri found a relative haven to continue his activism without the immediate threat of persecution. Upon his arrival, Mazaheri faced the challenges common to many political exiles, adapting to a new culture, language barriers, and the emotional toll of being separated from his homeland. However, he quickly integrated into the local political exiles and activist community. Germany, with its rich history of political asylum and a robust network of support for dissidents, provided a conducive environment for Mazaheri to continue his advocacy work. Mazaheri became an active member of various human rights organizations and continued to voice his opposition to the oppressive regime in his home country. He regularly participated in international conferences, seminars and forums, where he highlighted the plight of political dissidents and the need for global solidarity against tyranny. His writings and speeches have been influential in raising awareness about the human rights abuses occurring in his homeland. In addition to his political activism, Mazaheri also focused on building cultural bridges between his home country and Germany. He organized cultural events, exhibitions, and discussions to foster mutual understanding and solidarity. Through these efforts, he sought to keep his cultural heritage alive while contributing to German society's multicultural fabric. Despite the relative safety of his life in exile, Mazaheri has never ceased to feel a deep connection to his homeland. He constantly contacts fellow activists and supports underground movements working towards political change. His enduring commitment to justice and human rights has made him respected within the exile community and among international human rights advocates. Mazaheri's life in exile is a testament to his resilience and unwavering dedication to the cause of freedom and justice. His experiences underscore the sacrifices made by political exiles and the importance of international support for those who risk their lives to stand against oppression. Conclusion. Abbas Mazaheri's life has been marked by his deep commitment to political activism and participation in the armed struggle against the Shah's regime. His early involvement with the Anti-Bahai Organization and his significant role in the International Muslim People's Party demonstrated his dedication to political Islam and resistance against authoritarianism. Despite facing prolonged imprisonment and political exile, Mazaheri continued his political activities, including his involvement with the Marxist-Leninist organization, Path of the Revolutionary Workers of Iran. His legacy is remembered for his contributions to political activism in Iran, and his enduring commitment to the struggle for political change and social justice.